don't know why I try to do a countdown. But hey, we're live. That's what it says. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Five Dumb Things. This is episode 22. I am your co-host. I am Darren J. Wait, hold on a second. Let me really quickly I am Darren J. Gendron. I'm the co-host. Let me very quickly bring in co-host Brandon J. Carr. I wrote an introduction for you, but I don't want to give it to you because you're shaking your head at me. No.
Right. This is actually episode 23.
Is it 23?
Yes, 22 was the last one we did.
I don't remember. That 22 was the Just Us episode?
Yep.
Okay, well, have we been doing rabbit season, duck season on the show notes, switching it back and forth between 22 and 23?
Probably.
Okay. So welcome to episode 23 of Five Dumb Things, where we do excellent amounts of research. I am your host, Darren J. Gendron, and with me, a one-man Comic-Con, Brandon J. Carr.
I've got all the crud.
You just the con crud at this point.
Con crud.
That's all you are.
I'm like 75% con crud and 25% sweat and body odor.
So in that case, we should then bring in somebody who is healthy, who is not tainted by maybe.
Organic.
He might be tainted. We'll find out if he's tainted in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest judge is Frank Cronin, actor, comedian, known Irishman. How you doing, Frank?
How you doing, guys? A pleasure to be on your show. What a privilege. I will bring the organic comedy to this this mess.
Whoa! It's not that kind. Oh, you said organic.
Organic. Yeah. What does that exactly mean? How do we get organic comedy?
Well, I don't know. You guys were talking about some sort of trouble there, and I wanted to say that I'm only going to bring purity to your show. I don't want to. You guys are saying that was it Brandon is like a dangerous character to have on the show?
What we were saying, that possibly disease. Comic-Con just wrapped up last weekend. I went. Brandon actually was on another coast, but we've both been to a lot of comic book conventions, and one of the hallmarks of coming back from a convention is being covered in disease. You just, like, your body is exhausted, there's too many people, there's, like, Legionnaire's disease and all sorts of, like, warts and things. Like, it's disgusting. Like, the week after a show is just miserable. It always is.
How does one pick up those diseases? It sounds kind of...
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. At every comic convention, because thousands of people walk around sneezing into their hands and then rubbing it on other people.
Yeah, that's it. Right, Frank, you actually know that I'm a bit of a germaphobe at open mics. That is why. It's because I've been to so many comic book conventions. That's why I refuse to shake people's hands.
Wow, and are these people that go to comic conventions, are they particularly nasty people? Is that what you're saying in terms of hygiene? Is that what
I'm not going to say all of them, but definitely some of them. We're talking like, but here's the thing: like when you're talking like 1%, and you look at Comic-Con, and it's 500,000 people, that's 5,000 horrible people walking around. So yeah, it's dangerous math. I forgot to link this on the Facebook page, so I'm going to very discreetly talk for a second in ways that's going to get cut out of the audio.
Yeah, this is very discreet.
This is very discreet.
We have no idea what's happening.
I'm telling you exactly what's happening.
This is so smooth. I can't even... Wow.
And I'm going to post that onto Facebook real quick.
That was nice.
Like magic. No, hit post. Come on, Facebook. You can do this. I probably should point out, Frank, you actually know how to kill us, right? Is that something we...
well, yeah, I guess in theory, a lot of people... I do a little bit in my stand-up about being in the Army, mainly because I was in the Army, and it's easy to talk about things you know about. Mm-hmm. But I never had to kill anyone, never wanted to kill anybody, never was really into weapons, but I just was bored in Ireland at a time where I didn't want to go back to school, so I joined the Army.
All right. And you actually, I believe you served with the UN, right? I
did. I was lucky enough to do, I was in Liberia in West Africa around 2005 with the UNMIL Rapid Reaction Force, and we were cruising around putting out humanitarian fires, let's say, just making sure that aid agencies got the food to the people who needed it without being, mutilated. It wasn't a nice place at the time, Liberia. But basically I never had to kill anyone because I was around so many people who could kill people.
Okay. that's an interesting position to be in. And speaking of interesting positions, this is a terrible segue in that like we're going from something very serious in world politics to where you are right now. You're in a car at the moment because you just got back from the beach. You said.
Yeah, I'm in Santa Monica outside my friend Malin's house. We were just hanging on the beach all day. We went swimming. It's like people talk about meditation or going for a run or going to the gym, but jumping in the sea, getting hit by a few waves, it's a great reset. For the brain, for the body.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Zen of the quiet mind, where you isolate yourself from things. Like taking a shower is a good way of doing that, because you can only focus on the water. Yeah,
I find for meditation a good long productive bowel movement is the way to go.
Yep.
Someone had to say it. But it is, you can take joy in anything. That's what we were experiencing today, if you've got free time and you've got not a lot of anxiety or things you have to do that day, you can really have a great day doing very little. You don't need a lot of things or possessions or money.
All right.
Well, I have very little free time and a lot of anxieties.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about things and possessions and pop culture entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for 5 Dumb Things. All right, this is how we're going to do it. Brandon and I, we are going to present our cases in movies, television, internet, gaming, and etc. We are going to do 5-minute cases each, and then the Honorable Judge Frank is going to judge us and tell us which one of us is being dumb. We're going to start things off with movies. It looks like Brandon and I, we both had the same obsession, the same track in that we were looking at. There was just a few bits of movie news that came out last week with Comic-Con. It looks like just a little bit, which is great too, because I was talking with a lot of people about it, and we were talking about like up until about 2009, Comic-Con 2009. Hall H used to be this giant, don't you dare record anything. Like, you had to smuggle in spy cameras into Hall H to smuggle it out. And I remember 2009 because that's Iron Man. That's when they first showed... Actually, no, that may have been 2008 because it was the year before. But they smuggled out footage of Iron Man, and people got so geeked for it. And it kept getting thrown up onto YouTube and pulled down. And now what we have is the instant the studio puts up the trailer in Hall H, they throw it up onto the YouTube as well.
Like, well, that's not entirely true.
It's not entirely true?
Marvel actually has still been holding back on all of their footage.
Well, they give us some, at least, though.
Right, but, I mean, DC has been dumping it out there, but we still haven't seen from Marvel the Spider-Man Homecoming footage that they put out there, the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 footage they put out there. I know that the Doctor Strange trailer they gave us, but I think that's it.
You know what's cracking me up? Is that you're the one that was like 3,000 miles away from the convention center. I was physically there. You know more about what happened at the show than I did, and that perfectly makes sense.
Well, I know about what did and didn't come to us far away.
Right.
After
and I could have gone into Hall H, and I could have tried, watching all these things and spending day after day, like living like a vagrant inside of this one small chunk, and I would have missed out on 90% of the show. It is physically impossible to see. You get more from Comic-Con by not going to it than you do from going to it nowadays. It's just that size of a beast.
Yeah.
But there was one. I'm picking one movie in particular because I'm not a cheater McCheaterson like Brandon. I'm focusing in on the Suicide Squad. We got a few more bits of footage out of it. We got another trailer, and this is one of those. I hate to make a judgment on a movie before I've seen it, but again, my cautiously optimistic stance of taking... This has been me with all geek movies lately, cautiously optimistic. Like, it's either that or desperately hopeful. Those are my two settings. Like, Deadpool, desperately hopeful. Like, it had to be a good movie for me. Like, my worldview would have been crushed. Cautiously optimistic is, it has a very good chance of being good. And Suicide Squad right now looks like it's really good and really fun. I'm trying to wrap my head around that because definitely about a year ago when they first started when they first released like the cast photos of what they looked like, and my initial reaction seeing them in stills, which it's terrible. I don't know why I do this to myself. I saw them in stills and I'm like, they look like a paintball team. But now seeing all the costumes in motion, seeing the special effects on like Killer Croc or on Pyro, like they all have their own personalities to them very clearly because they're actors playing moving roles, not pictures. And I'm excited for this movie. I am. And it occurs to me that this would basically, if Suicide Squad is good, this summer would basically be a trifecta of movies that people didn't believe in but probably should have. Yeah. You have the show notes in front of you, Brandon, so you can cheat on this one. But the first movie on this one was Ghostbusters. Great movie. I freaking love it. I enjoyed every minute of it. And there are definitely people that were hating on it. Like, they don't count. Why are they hating? I was about to go into a bit, and I realized I actually wrote that bit down later in the show, so I'll talk to you guys later. There's something really good to be hated on that we can hate on later, guys. But there were people that were like, I don't know, do we really need a new Ghostbusters movie? And they kind of dismissed it, but then they were like listening to everybody talk about how good it is, and they're like, okay, let's check it out. Hey, it's good. Star Trek Beyond is apparently really freaking good.
That's what I've heard.
That's the reviews. I haven't seen it myself yet. This is not my review. But the reviews are so good that I will go see it. And then we've got Suicide Squad lining up to be potentially a really good movie. And it's weird because it's in the Zack Snyder universe, and it has not been impressing me with their previous outings. But maybe we've got a fun, goofy DC Universe movie coming out.
Well, that seems to be a potential truth, possibly.
Speaking of the Zack Snyder universe, Brandon, you tell me what's dumb in movies.
Well, you haven't told us what's dumb about Suicide Squad.
Oh.
Touché.
You and your rules. I think, no, it's dumb that we've been getting down on movies before we go see them. Like, that's the actual dumb thing. Like, we've been judging these movies before we're even seeing the final preview. Like, we're judging them just on the paper existence of them. Like, we're not even like looking at them as movies. That's dumb.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that actually part of that original reaction to Suicide Squad being tainted was tainted a bit by Batman vs. Superman, which came out around the same time we started seeing things come out for Suicide Squad, and because it got such a bad rap, we'll say for the moment, then I think that we were looking at other things within that same universe and thinking, ugh.
Yeah.
Now I can finally speak to this because I saw Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice on earlier this week. My wife and I decided to watch a movie, and that's the one that we picked because we thought, at the very least, this will be fun to make fun of.
Right.
It wasn't fun to make fun of. It went beyond. Like there's one episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000 that sticks out, where they talk about Manos' Hands of Fate.
Mm-hmm.
And even the episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000 isn't funny because the movie is so bad that it's beyond mockery. And my wife and I can tear a movie apart in progress. And I did not enjoy it. There was too much dislike about it that I couldn't even make fun of it. So anything in the Zack Snyderverse from now it carries that stamp, especially since he has directed Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
However, we have seen Jeff Johns step up in DC Entertainment. He's now the president of DC Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Affleck has come in to be something of a savior for for the upcoming films. And in fact, one of the highlights of Batman vs. Superman were the Batman parts. Obviously, Wonder Woman was fantastic. And we know that Ben Affleck was involved in the writing process for some of those Batman parts. So that gives me hope for what he's going to do down the road, especially now that he's an EP on Justice League. So we got to see a bit of Justice League in the Comic-Con footage.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately when I started playing it, they did that thing where at the beginning of a trailer they play a note on the piano, and they play it again, and then someone starts talking, and the same note, and the same note, and I was like, God, come on, please, give us something good. But then they did. There's a great moment with Aquaman, and what stood out for me the most was I was really ready to dislike the Justice League version of the Flash, because I love the CW Flash so much, and Grant Gustin does such a good job as his Barry Allen. But man, Ezra Miller nailed it, and that whole sequence is so good. And he's got all the monitors. He's watching Rick and Morty. There's Rick and Morty on one of the screens, and his version of the character I really like, and I think it's going to be good. The costume is a little interesting, but
we haven't. Have you heard descriptions of that costume too?
Yeah, and you can see it in some of the footage too.
Can you? I need time out for one moment. Something weird's going on here.
Okay. Whoa.
Tomorrow if you come in around 1.
This is very entertaining.
It is. It's a little scary.
I forget you two aren't in the same room.
Oh yeah, no, we're on opposite sides of the country.
I am so sorry about that. My 2-year-old son is just running around like a crazy person outside, going ah.
Oh, we know, we can hear it.
He is now famous already.
No, now he has dropped down. He is doing the sexy Burt Reynolds pose. I don't even know what's going on here. Oh gosh. Okay, so
anyway, the costume we have seen a little bit of it. It's
Okay.
The costume is armored, and I think that they're going for kind of a like a roller derby padding, but
have you
to the extreme.
Have you actually heard how much spoiler do you want on this?
On a movie that hasn't come out yet?
This is one of the 2 scenes that a reviewer actually saw get filmed.
Oh.
So he discussed.
Yeah,
he actually went in detail discussing the Flash costume. It's got ceramic plating on it.
Right.
It's
for
heat plating, and then it's got it's got wires coming off of it to like have the electricity flow out of it. I'm not crazy about that.
No. There's a point where science gets too sciencey in movies like this. And in fact, there was a moment in Batman vs. Superman, for instance, where they described the effect of kryptonite on Kryptonian physiology, and it didn't make any sense. Like, they were trying to make it sciencey, or like, oh, it destroys Kryptonian cells. It's like, well, no, it doesn't, because they step away from it and they're fine. You know? So yeah, there's a point where it gets a little too far in, but whatever. I think that the character itself will be enjoyable. Go ahead.
I really want the scene where he says that I need friends.
Yeah.
And then I want him to. I want Bruce Wayne to say, "Oh, okay," and then have him immediately go in to start selling Amway. It's like, see, it's not a pyramid scheme.
No.
It's
but if you get some friends,
we get just 6 more friends, and then they get friends.
Right. He's just been sitting at the bottom of the pyramid for way too long. He needs friends.
You really need friends.
So, in addition to that, we got the Wonder Woman trailer, which also looks fantastic. And this is it reminds me, because it's a period piece of the first Captain America movie, which, sorry everybody, is still my favorite Captain America movie.
Well, you're wrong, but it's still a great movie. So
because it has its own feel, because the Captain America movies that came after that are just Avengers sequels. And so we really only have one Captain America movie. So anyway, the Wonder Woman trailer shows some humor. It has some great action. It gets to the mythology like Thor. It approaches it in that same, here it is, matter-of-fact kind of way. The only hesitation I had was with the lasso glowing during the action sequences, and I don't think that that's a problem that it's glowing. I think that I don't think the effects are done, because it looked like it was kind of slapdash in its rotoscoping.
This is a bit early. That's next summer, right?
I think so. Yeah. So anyway, these pieces, despite being part of this Snyderverse that for 2 movies has not done a great job of representing the characters it represents, that look like they're going to be pretty darn good. And you fold that in with Suicide Squad, which I'm less interested in, but it still has a place, I suppose.
Right. So what are you saying is dumb? Or are you saying Dawn of Justice is dumb? Or are you saying...
Well, yes and no. I think it's dumb that we had to struggle through two pretty big misinterpretations of DC's flagship character in order to get to a shared universe that makes sense, that will actually be enjoyable instead of joyless, and that people can actually rally behind and might actually finally give Marvel a run for its money.
All right. So you got to think about it, too. It's freaking amazing that we're actually getting a Justice League movie, considering how negatively reviewed from the geek culture Dawn of Justice was, as well as Man of Steel.
Well, remember, Justice League was pretty deep in pre-production when Dawn of Justice came out, so they would have lost money if they hadn't gone ahead with it.
And they still made massive amounts of money on Dawn of Justice. They could have just said, no, box office says you guys like this, and they could have just driven forward on it.
True.
So that's okay. So, Judge Frank, let's recap real quick. We're saying, is it dumb that, particularly is it dumb that Brandon had to sit through a 2-hour movie that at any point in the movie there was 2 more hours to watch? Or is it dumb that people are getting upset and angry about movies before even seeing anything about these movies?
Well, I think you both made very valuable points, gentlemen, and you're both very highly intelligent, well-educated men. That's the first observation. So let's package this scolding between 2 positive sandwiches. So that's your first positive. Now on to the negative. Gentlemen, I think anybody who puts a 2-hour movie together with such a large budget should make sure that it is exactly, on point throughout and captivating for 2 hours. If you're going to sit there for over 90 minutes and put 180 million into a production, it really pretty much on point and perfect, and those little kinky.
Hey, Frank, your audio is starting to break up. Could you make sure the microphone is close?
Any good?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. So the first thing is, the 2-hour long epics, and they're not epic at all. That's just a sad thing that we shouldn't really have to deal with, especially when they're putting so much money into the movies. What was your second point, so that I can call it dumb too?
Oh, I was gonna say us getting upset about movies before actually seeing anything of the movies, even just like final previews. We shouldn't get upset about movies before that. I'm getting nothing at the moment, Frank. Breaking up on me. I'm going to shut off my own video. There. Try that again. Did we lose Frank?
I think we may have.
Frank! No!
I heard a blip.
I got a blip. I got anything?
Well, I guess I win.
I feel like we've got into a complete like World War II sub movie at this point. Like we're just like
we're just listening for every little sound.
That's a blip.
Whoa! It's like he's speaking to us from like EVPs.
The Frank and the Machine, guys. So yeah.
Yeah, so I win. Moving on.
Moving on.
And, I'll take this moment, actually, to point out that the movie is actually 2.5 hours long.
Oh, jeez.
And the extended version is over 3, but I did not watch the extended version, although I've heard it's better, which I cannot imagine is true.
Well, do you want to see Jimmy Olsen murdered? Like, that's a fun thing to do.
Well, he's in the regular cut.
But you don't know he's Jimmy Olsen.
No, of course not. Because Zack Snyder said it would be
circling
fun.
my house, by the way.
Oh, good.
Should we be worried about a helicopter circling my house?
So let's see. Frank was driving from Santa Monica, and now there's a helicopter circling your house. So I think maybe he robbed a place.
Well, to be fair, Santa Monica is like a whole hour from my house.
Yeah, but we don't know that he was in Santa Monica, and that was a while ago.
Yeah,
that was 30 minutes ago, so he could have been halfway there already.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is he's leading a chase.
Wait. Did we get Frank back?
I can.
You can hear us?
It's very funny.
We can't hear you. We're getting like it's basically like we were talking to a person that got murdered by an AI, and he's just screaming for help right now. Oh, hey, we got video from you. Shut your video off. Let's try to get just audio from you right now.
It's like a beautiful electronic song.
My video, if my video's on, I can't see anything. Can you hear me at all?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Oh, we can see you.
We can hear you and see you.
Oh, for God's sake. Okay, so here...
That's good. Okay, good.
Okay. So
I will blame Pokemon Go, actually, because Pokemon Go players have been attacking Santa Monica, and they did actually knock down the cell phone towers once already.
Not literally.
Well, yeah, just by signal, they crashed it. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, back to your argument. I think without if you guys weren't getting passionate and worked up and judging movies before they came out, it wouldn't. That's part of the fun of these movies, and that's why they're so successful when they are good. But we have to remember, I guess, that they're coming from different production houses, completely different minds. Some of them, So we probably can't judge one movie on another, even if it's made by the same production company, because the minds that are making them are completely different. So we're all being a little dumb in that respect, but we have to do it. Otherwise, there'd be no talk shows. There'd be no fun.
Yes.
There'd be no this podcast.
Yes. No. Are you saying? So which one are you saying dumb, or are you giving a double dumb?
I don't want to be too negative, but I feel that I feel that we're both. Well, look, if I have to choose, I would say we're being dumb by talking about them before they're made. But we can't help it, so we forgive ourselves. Yeah.
So I'm the dumb one. That's good. Okay, good. All right then. So I snatched defeat from the jaws of victory there, Brandon. We still don't know which one actually means winning. Like, that's still going to be a debate. 23 episodes in, we don't know. We're very dumb people.
I'm not sure anyone is winning.
All right, so let's talk television. Tons of television news from San Diego Comic-Con, which I think you completely ignored, Brandon, but we'll get to that in a second. For me, though, I'm cheating. I'm using Netflix television right now because they came out with a bunch of the Marvel Netflix trailers, and one of the things they added in there was the Luke Cage trailer. Did you guys get to see this?
Yeah.
I didn't. All right. I showed it to my wife. I was very excited about it. They got Wu-Tang, Shimmy Shimmy Ya playing in it. And it's Luke Cage just walking into a building, tearing a car door off, walking through a building basically, and just punching people and beating them up with a lead pipe, and talking trash to who's probably going to be the big bad. Not a lot else happens in this trailer. Not a lot of character development, not a lot of teases of drama. And it occurred to me that, I would actually watch 13 episodes of that. Kendra, my wife, she actually talked to me afterwards like, nothing happens in that trailer. Like, why are you this excited? Like, I think a lot of it is that Luke Cage is one of those characters that, if you look back on his print history, there's some problematic parts to him.
Oh, yes.
And the fact that they could have screwed this up so badly and chose not to. Like the deep-colored yellow shirt with a crown. Just a nice...
It's a tiara.
Crown.
It was
a tiara. Jive turkey. It's a tiara.
And a big chain for a belt.
Yeah, a big chain belt. That was one of the things that he was doing for a while. I like that. Well, because Luke Cage, we've gotten to see this actor play Luke beforehand. I definitely forgot to write his name down before doing it, so it's not on my show note. But we got to see him in Jessica Jones, and he nailed it so perfectly. Because Luke Cage is this weird mix of apathy and caring at the exact same time. Like, he doesn't want to care, but damn it, he does. And it's this nice metaphor for what his powers are. Like, he's hard on the outside but soft on the inside, you know. And we actually have already gotten to see him say the phrase "Sweet Christmas,"
and I loved the context.
And the context was perfect. And I've already been joking around and pointing out to people, like, this is a fact that on my calendar at home, September 30th is marked off as Sweet Christmas. We will be observing it as Sweet Christmas. That's definitely going to be a case where we wait for the kids to go to bed, just like, it's Luke Cage time. That's how we're going to do it. They also came out with a teaser for Defenders, and even less happens in the Defenders teaser. Literally, they showed the word Defender. It's being put together with like the D from Daredevil, the A from Luke Cage, I think.
There's no A in Defenders.
No, yeah. Wait. A.
They took a letter from
the Defenders.
It's the Defenders.
Defenders.
They took a letter from the Alias Investigations card.
Was it the Alias Investigations card, or was it from Jessica Jones, like the title from Jessica Jones?
No, it was actually one of the cards because they ripped it.
Because so they get something from Daredevil, they get something from Iron Fist, they get something from the Luke Cage logo, the Jessica Jones. Those are the big four. But there's also, it looks like they also stole a letter from the word Punisher. Like, if you look at the fonts, they may have snuck a Punisher reference into that title as well. But it also is like, it basically becomes like this ransom note type thing. No hints at all as to what the Defenders are going to be, what's going to bring them together. And like, that's the thing. Like, Netflix, they get that stamp of approval right now. It's so dumb that we won't question them at all. Like, they showed us nothing with Luke Cage, and I'm still beyond excited for it. That's. Yeah.
Well, and I think part of what's notable about it, rather, is that Luke Cage is the first black male role that they've had in the entirety of the lead role that they've had in the entirety of their cinematic universe.
Depends on how you count Blade.
Blade is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe yet.
Disney Marvel, you mean?
The Marvel Cinematic Universe, the shared universe. Yeah. Since Marvel has been producing the film.
Right. That's right. Actually, they might revamp Blade soon. Anyhow.
Revamp.
God damn it. All right, Brandon. You tell me what's dumb in TV.
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but Mad TV returned last night. Were you aware of it? Because I
not
sure
a
wasn't.
Clue. I just thought you were getting like excited for a '90s TV show. Like, what? Why did you just watch it recently? Like,
I had the same moment because someone mentioned it on social media. They were like, "Oh, I watched Mad TV," and I was like, "Well, that's cool. It's been off the air for 7 years, so that's kind of weird." And so then I looked into it a little bit more, and Mad TV, after 7 years off the air, has returned with season 15.
Wow. Is it a new cast?
So here's the thing. It's on the CW, for one thing. They made the jump from Fox. It has the same executive producer that it had on Fox, but everything else is pretty much new. They have an entirely new cast, which is actually the cast itself, from what I've heard. I didn't watch it because I didn't know about it. Apparently the cast is great, and they are the highlight of the show. And I will say it is a very diverse cast in a lot of ways. The genders are evenly split. I think it's 4 and 4.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of racial diversity as well. And then some of what they refer to as the Mad TV All-Stars are going to be coming back to sort of glue it back to the original run. Nicole Sullivan in this episode played Hillary Clinton, and Will Sasso will be coming back doing his Kenny Rogers and a couple of the other things that he did previously. But there seems to be a consensus among critics who watched the first episode that the writing is very weak, that the humor is very obvious. There's a sketch about Dora the Explorer going through all the neighborhoods of L.A. that is, from what I can tell, exactly what you would expect it to be. Which is frustrating, because there is a lack of good sketch comedy on television. SNL has its moments. It's undeniably still a juggernaut. Yeah. Even though you may have an episode where only one piece really lands and it's pre-recorded, and it obviously, it depends on the hosts, et cetera, et cetera. The Mad TV format, where they go back and forth between pre-recorded bits and live elements in front of the audience, has a lot of potential, and there needs to be more and better sketch comedy on the air, but it sounds like this is not it. And I wonder if there's a little too much reliance on a show that went off the air in 2009 to springboard this. Because my reaction to Mad TV is back is, oh, that's weird. As opposed to, oh boy, hand it over. Whereas if it had been something new, then I think maybe I would be more willing to give it a chance out of the gate.
If it was from the makers of Mad TV.
Right, and it is one of the original executive producers from Mad TV, and I think that's pretty much it, other than the All-Stars. So I think even sharing an executive producer, if it had been a new thing that wasn't relying on, I'm sure we're going to see Michael McDonald come back and do Stewart, and I'm sure they're going to try and get, her name escapes me. What's her name? To come back and play Miss Swan. He looked like a man. Things like that, and that's all well and good. And I know that they had a plan to do a reunion special, like SNL did, celebrating their 40th. But for Mad TV, it was like celebrating their, it was supposed to be a 20th, I guess.
I was going to point out how ridiculous it was that they are making a TV show based off of a TV show that got canceled in 2009, based off of a magazine that went out of print, and then realized it's not out of print.
Yeah. Oh no, it's still going.
Magazine still exists. Okay.
I bought an issue for my son because Mad Magazine was important to my childhood, so I figured I would share it with him. But yeah, it's still around, and one of the articles that I read said that this Mad TV feels like a knockoff of the original Mad TV, which felt like a knockoff of SNL. So it's like when you record something on tape, generation after generation, it gets weaker and weaker.
A photocopy of a photocopy.
Exactly. But there is potential, because from the clips that I saw, the cast is good. They're fresh, they're new. It's no one that I've seen, but I think there's one guy that I've seen before, and that may have been on Last Comic Standing where I saw him. But anyway, the fact that they're trying to drag the corpse of Mad TV out of its grave and breathe new life into it is dumb. Did you know it was on for 14 seasons?
I did not realize it went that long.
That's insane.
That's wow. And then oh man, they were nowhere. Okay, they could very well have been at San Diego Comic-Con and just didn't spot it, but
you feel like you would have seen that in the news.
I feel like that's something they should have been. They should have been all over that mark, especially if they were premiering immediately after.
Right, and it's CW. Why were there no commercials during The Flash?
Yeah,
I mean, I know that ended a couple months ago, but it's not like they just decided to do this show last week,
Right. Yeah, there's no way that there shouldn't have been some synergy between their comic book properties and their goofy. They're the same company.
Yeah,
they're both Warner Brothers products.
Warner Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible. So, did you watch it or?
No, I didn't, and I probably won't.
That's the dumb part is but just the whole execution of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait until I hear that it's gotten better. And one of the biggest mistakes that they made is at the end of the episode they showed one of the sketches from the original run, featuring Key and Peele from before they were Key and Peele, and apparently it was so energetic and so good that it just wiped out everything that had come before over the course of the hour, half hour, or whatever, and just made it all the more obvious that they should not have done this.
Yeah. Okay, so Frank.
Yep.
what you're judging us on is
Thank you.
is it
That's enough.
idiotic? Is it dumb that Mad TV, we were told nothing about Mad TV, or is it dumb that we were told nothing about Luke Cage? That's the apples to apples look, isn't it?
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I think it's a little bit dumb in terms of marketing, but then you have to consider that a lot of TV shows now get more views and sell more advertising from online snippets than they do in live real time. So the way they're going to package it, like on Conan, they'll probably chop up Mad TV to the best bits and then put those bits out on the internet and sell them as video content. Huh. So the objective of the production house might be a little bit different to what we're used to. Mm-hmm. But you would think if they had a fan base and 14 seasons behind them that they would market it more. Especially you guys would definitely be people who would know, right, and want to know and watch it. And
yeah, I have 3 different entertainment news apps on my phone, and I never heard about this.
Wow. It sounds like a conscious decision not to overmarket, right?
Possibly, yeah.
But at the same time, it also sounds like a conscious decision to not market.
Right.
At all. Yeah. Like, it's really... I'm trying to find... Like, here's the problem, is because I can get them going... Sorry. I want to argue this. This isn't even my point. I'm just mad about it now. Because, like, if I search for Mad TV now, Mad TV 2016... all I can see now are awful reviews of their premiere. There's no marketing. There's no official website popping up. It's just, in fact, it's just reminding us that, hey, Michael McDonald and Mo Collins and Will Sasso and Keegan and all these guys, they were here a while ago. And then this new one has terrible reviews. Yeah. Like a 3.2 out of 10 on IGN. That's not good.
No.
Right, yeah, and are they particularly hard on IGN, or is it just it really didn't just come up? It didn't come up trumps.
They can be particularly hard. IMDb has a high rating, but it's rating all 15 seasons.
Ah, yes, of course.
Yeah, so that might be why they kept calling it Mad TV, is so that
people can be pretty hard on reboots because they want they so much and they have a lot of invested childhood in it. So
right,
you know, maybe. You can never really please people if something was so powerful back then. Keenan and Peele.
So which subtle marketing campaign is dumb? I feel like I've completely sunk my case by jumping onto Brandon's case at this point.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the dumbest. If you had to pick one, the dumbest, it seems like Mad TV, because that sounds like something that could have potentially made them more money. But I don't know the people at Mad TV, and maybe they're even more clever than us. Maybe they have reasons for it. Maybe they're making money in another way.
They might also have realized that it was not good. When it got turned in and they were getting ready to market it, they may have said, maybe we'll just slide this in under the radar.
This is a summer killing, is what we think?
Yeah,
that is possible. I have heard of that being done from people who make stuff. So, yes, I think that is very possible. There's a nice little conspiracy theory, yeah.
All right, so let's look at... We're good?
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry for cutting you off there. Let's look at what's dumb in the internet, then. And I'm going to start on this one because I'm using something else that came out at San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm using Star Trek Discovery. This is we've talked about it before. Brandon, I was debating making this a follow-up dumbness. This is the new Star Trek series that's coming out. The premiere is going to go on CBS, and then they're going to immediately shut it off from on the TV and put it online to CBS All Access.
Yes.
The two main dumb things about this. First off, someone didn't think about what the acronym for this show is going to be referred to. But Star Trek Discovery is going to be spreading, they hope. It's going to have that nice burning sense.
Well, they're hoping everyone's itching for it.
Just get that burn. Like, they want a viral sensation online of STD is what they want.
That's fun.
Jeez. The other dumb thing about this is I'm talking about this in the internet section and not the TV section. I'm still angry about this.
Well, it's complex now. Internet and TV
Yeah.
is a crossover medium. When you're watching Netflix on your TV, are you watching internet or television? Isn't that complex?
Right. And I mean, I already pointed out that I cheated by using Netflix as TV.
Well,
but
according to the Emmy voters, it's television.
it is television. But the problem that I have is that, like, with CBS, it's not like an ingrained app. It's not something that you definitely already have on your PS4, or your smart TV, or your computer, or your cell phone.
Right.
It's going to be another app that we have to get, and it's I keep forgetting. This is going to be under a paywall, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like $3 a month.
Star Trek's not worth $3 a month. I just don't feel
I don't know. It sounds pretty great.
It's going to be one hell of a pilot to convince me to pay $3 a month for it. And if it's one hell of a pilot, then how is it not just a TV show? You know,
because they need it behind a paywall.
Because they need it behind a paywall. It's the back and forth. Like, it's got to be great to be worth that. But if it's great, then isn't it worth like millions of dollars of commercial ads and keeping on CBS?
Well, we don't know that there won't be ads on CBS All Access.
Yeah, that's the other part. And that's the thing that's pointed out, that's why Netflix is crushing all the other competitors like Hulu and whatnot, is because, and there was a study on this, that is why people are okay paying whatever to Netflix, because there are no ads. Like, just go right in and you watch what you want to watch, and you pay them for it. There has been a note saying that Netflix has been losing subscribers, and the reason why they lose subscribers is not because of the price increases, but because their library is shrinking. And that's because we're getting this fragmenting of stuff. But at the same time, given what they've been doing with their original content, we just obsessed about Luke Cage. Last episode, we obsessed about Stranger Things. We've talked about Voltron. We've talked about every other Marvel property they had. I don't care. They get my money.
And
CBS.
Disney's going to be putting all of their films on exclusively on Netflix.
So they get that one coming too.
Yeah. And something interesting also about Star Trek Discovery is that we get the paywall here in the United States, and the rest of the world will be watching Star Trek Discovery via Netflix.
Ooh. So I feel like this is one that we can wait out. I get that feeling that eventually, I think, when you tell me that, you're telling me that CBS just tipped their hand. That if we wait a year, it's going to be on Netflix.
Possibly. You know, for me, I'm probably going to wind up watching it via iTunes.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of excited about it. I like the design of the ship, which looks sort of like a cross between a Federation ship and a Klingon ship.
Yeah.
I like that it takes place in the Prime universe, so it's not the Kelvin universe.
Yeah.
Although we don't know when in the time frame it falls, they have not stated yet. And I love the showrunner. Brian Fuller is one of my favorites.
Technology on the ship, it looks post-Next Generation at least.
I don't know that it does. Because it's got the nacelles are very similar to some of the motion picture. Yeah, I said nacelles.
Yeah, I know.
To the motion pictures prior to Next Generation, and there's a huge gap between the last of the original cast movies and the Next Generation universe or time frame. So it could fall somewhere in between because it's not an Enterprise for the first time. It's the Discovery.
Don't you dare say for the first time.
Explain.
God! Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine, Voyager. Sorry.
Voyager. I forgot about Voyager when I was chastising you. So
for the first time in a show that I'll watch. How about that?
Oh. Okay, just promise me you'll use protection.
I promise.
All right, you tell me what's dumb in internet.
So I'm going to actually talk about the internet. So Verizon, I think it was last year, bought AOL from Time Warner. It all got split loose. It all became part of Verizon, and they decided that outdated internet service providers / portals are going to be what they collect from now on. So they just bought Yahoo for $4.8 billion, It sounds like a lot of money, but at its peak, Yahoo was valued at $125 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite a drop.
That was when Google was just starting to come out.
That's right. That's when it was leading the game. That's when Yahoo was Facebook level in terms of public awareness, and everyone had their Yahoo.com email addresses, and some people still do, which is very interesting.
I still do.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh.
I have a reason for it too.
I don't want to know. So it's.
I'll explain it actually, and just go on. Yeah.
Sure. So they're taking all of these older properties. So I'm sure that they're going to dig up some of the ones that are gone already. They're going to buy the remains of Alta Vista and some of the old crawlers.
Some
and
GeoCities. Well, wouldn't MySpace be the next one for them at that point?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So maybe they'll go after MySpace. Although, I don't know how MySpace is doing since their big Justin Timberlake financed rejuvenation a few years ago.
Okay, so I do want to point out really quickly why I still have a Yahoo address, because I just remembered one of the bigger users of Yahoo was drug dealers, because they were convinced that the Yahoo Messenger wasn't tracking their messages when it totally was.
So you're a drug dealer? I
am not a drug dealer. Oh. They actually have had very reliable web hosting for a very long time. They did, and so I've always bought my websites through them.
Interesting.
So, Darren J, Gendron.com and MegaArtWars.com are currently hosted on Yahoo.
Well, that is weird.
So they basically, and that's been a major source of their revenue. So they actually have, and that's the thing, like we talk about them being worth hundreds of billions of dollars, they weren't really. Like, they had the potential if, according to Wall Street, they had the potential if they could monetize how many people were using them for free.
Right.
But the moment that they charged for using them as a search engine, they would fall apart. If they monetized using them as an information portal with advertisements, they'd do all right, but then Google just destroyed them in that category. Like, Google owns a lot of advertising revenue.
Right. Yeah. And they built it in as part of their engine, while Yahoo, a lot of their products had advertising built into it.
Yeah.
The Yahoo Messenger had an ad banner across it. Now, one thing that Verizon is actually getting out of the deal that I think is pretty valuable is a 1 million square foot campus in Sunnyvale, California, which is prime Silicon Valley real estate. And apparently that property itself is worth $5 million. So, I mean, obviously they paid a lot more than that for the company, but so they paid for the users, they paid for the data, they paid for this huge campus in Sunnyvale, and now they can add it to their disgraced web hosting company.
Pets.com, we're coming for you. Come on, Friendster.
So I think that the fall from grace of Yahoo and the fact that it is going for what is a relatively low price for what could have been its value at some point. And actually, it's still a pretty big payday for a lot of people. The current and final CEO, and I can't remember her name, she's walking away with like I think a $20 million severance package.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's going to be fine. And I did see a quote, I think today, I kind of glossed over it, but there were some... Frank's under arrest. I told you he robbed a place.
Well, what I do is I drive when I'm not talking, then I pull in and I'll talk to you because I can hear you perfectly. It's very interesting. $20 million, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's insane. And so she said something like there was an issue as far as like integrating user data and getting access to everything, and her response was essentially, well, that's their problem now, which is pretty
just two middle fingers up, like, I'm out.
Exactly. I want my $20 million in bills in a metal suitcase, and I want someone to drop it off in the park. And yeah. So anyway, the Yahoo limping away in disgrace, I think is dumb.
All right. So
synopsize, please, your arguments. What are you saying is dumb? Because they were very interesting topics. So I'd like you to synopsize, please, and then I can make some sort of evaluation. Yeah.
You want to ask me one more time?
Yeah.
So, one more time, do it. Ask me to
Go on. Sorry, I'm trying to
say what. Tell me to do it one more time. I'm getting weirdly antagonistic. I don't mean to be.
Goodness
No,
me.
I'm sorry. So, is it dumb? Is it dumb that STD is you got to pay for STD and it's not a TV show, or is it dumb that Verizon is buying up 1990s era internet companies?
Well, I think it's dumb that they're buying up 1990s companies. But they would probably look at me and say I'm dumb because I don't have 4.5 billion to spend on 1990s internet companies. Yeah.
I still think it's a good buy. I think I think it's dumb that Yahoo probably should have sold 5 years ago when they had a lot more value then.
Or 10 years ago.
10 years ago, they still had potential. Like, they still could have actually been a real company at that point.
I don't know. 2006, you think?
2006, they were still fairly, like, they were still buying ads with that Yahoo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was still happening. They were, like, they weren't like some savage like Ask Jeeves at that point. Like, you know, no, they were still part of the dog pile at that point. Is what I mean.
Right.
Ask.com's for them. Oh, why do I know so many search engines? I don't care that much about it. Oh, okay, guys, let's talk about what's dumb in gaming. Tons of Pokemon Go news this week, and again, I'm 4 for 4 on San Diego Comic-Con stuff, aren't I?
You are.
Yes. This is they came out with a panel at Comic-Con. The good folks at Niantic. There's so much dumb happening because it's like I talked about this last time. When you get, and I don't know what the number of active users is now. It's over 8 million at this point. But when you make 8 million people all do the same thing, things are going to happen to that 8 million people. Them doing the thing isn't always going to be the cause of the thing. Does that make sense? No. It does not make sense. If somebody gets hit by a car while staring at their phone, maybe it's the fault of the fact that they were playing a video game. It's not the video game's fault.
Right.
It's the fact that they were using their phone while walking. It's the thing that the video game tells you right up front to do. To not do. Not to.
Right.
If you get mugged in the middle of the night walking around a park, maybe you just got mugged because you were walking around the park in the middle of the night. Yes, you were playing a video game while doing it, but again, this isn't the go get stabbed while playing it video game. It's like maybe if a half dozen cases is shown up out of 8 million people, that's not a trend. It's not a good story. It's news people know that a lot of people are doing Pokemon Go stuff, so they're jumping in on it and they're trying to make Pokemon Go headlines. But what else is that that has also spurred on? One of the funnier stories this happened, the best dumb ever, is that we talk about our good friends on Wall Street on that last segment. Pokemon stock went through the roof. Nintendo stock went through the roof. And then Nintendo had to release a statement pointing out they don't actually own Pokemon. Pokemon Company owns Pokemon, and Niantic is the one that owns Pokemon Go and is licensing Pokemon from the Pokemon Company. That Nintendo's getting money from it, but not whatever Wall Street thought they were getting out of it. So
they had an enormous stock spike.
Gigantic stock spike. So I love to hear that from all those day traders. Like, yeah, I really researched the companies. You didn't even know what owned this company, and all you had to do was download it, and you load it up. Nowhere does it say Nintendo when you turn it on.
Right.
That probably should have been your first clue, investors. Anybody who lost massive amounts of money on that, I have no sympathy for you because you're dumb. But they did a conference at San Diego Comic-Con. They talked about bugs that are in the game. A lot of it is just, again, you can't quite blame them for not knowing that they were going to have an app that was more used than Twitter in the first week. Like, that's a bit crazy, is what that is. But then the dumb also goes on to my side of things with the players. We got weirdly excited because we now know the names and what the 3 trainers look like. the three leaders of the three teams. I am a little bit. It's the first time, and I make a joke about this that I'm Team Red, I'm Team Valor. I play a lot into my onstage stand-up character plays a lot into this whole red versus blue versus yellow mentality. That's my opener now, is going off on like the divide. Like we put ourselves into one giant community, then immediately divided ourselves into three. When they announced the team names and the gym leader names, I am a little bit saddened that I'm not Team Mystic. I do regret not being Team Blue just a little bit, because it was revealed that the leader of Team Blue is named Blanche, and I really wanted to thank her for being a friend, and I can't. We traveled back and down the road there and back again.
Well, and I actually am Team Blue.
Well, you're a pal and a confidant.
Right.
So
if my team leader threw a party and
did she invite everyone that she knew?
Yeah. Then she would see that the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say thank you for being a friend.
That is so touching.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I just caught a Nidoran, by the way, while you were talking about that.
Well, thank you for paying attention. You tell me what is dumb in gaming, then.
Hang on, I gotta go walk around in traffic a little bit while I hunt down another... there's a Tauros nearby that I need to go get.
I gotta go walk through somewhere that's clearly marked off as a do not trespass.
I'm gonna go walk down some dark alleys looking for a Pokemon.
Every single time they give me one of those stories about there was a Pokemon reported in the Fukushima radiation. I'm like, give me the screenshot to prove that actually happened, and no one's not just making that up. Because Pokemon only spawn where there's cell phone traffic. So somebody had to go in there with the game on first to find nothing, and then the game was like, hey, have a Pokemon. That's how that happened.
Yeah, and I don't think people, when they were playing Ingress, which this is mapped on, were in the Fukushima ruins.
No,
marking things, but
like they were claiming there were Pokestops in there. Like, show me the screenshot before you make that claim. There's no way that was approved.
So, speaking of Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
Only something actually owned by Nintendo, an article came out from Eurogamer, the news site, that listed some of the features of the upcoming NX console, kinda. So here's what they say. I'm going to burn through these pretty quickly. That it is a portable console with detachable controllers. It basically, from the drawing that they showed, it looks like a gamepad from a Wii U, and then the sides kind of snap off where the controller pieces are currently on the gamepad, and those become the controllers. The whole thing is portable. You and your buddy can sit in the park and play, I don't know, Zelda Breath of the Wild or whatever. Then, in order to play it on your television, there's a docking station. So you set it into the docking station, you snap the console, the controllers off, and you play. One thing that they are reporting is that it's going to be cartridge-based, which is crazy, and that they have no interest in backwards compatibility. So basically, my stack of Wii and Wii U games will go in the trash. Now, the whole thing is potentially really good for developers because they've been tasked with having to build video games for both the console and the portable versions. Not a lot with the current generation, but in the past, they've had to put together. And I'm completely, I can't. Oh, for instance, the Lego games, where you've got the version for your Nintendo and then your version for portable. But they do that for a lot of the game systems anyway, so you've got it on your PS Vita and your PS4, whatever you PlayStation people do. Now, the whole thing's being unveiled in September at a big consumer electronics show in Tokyo. But people are freaking out a little bit about these rumors that have come out from, again, Eurogamer, which it's based on a lot of different reports from a lot of different sources. And some of it has been sort of confirmed by some people, but sort of not. People have been finding, people dig into this stuff, so they're looking at like patent stuff for things like the cartridges, and someone. See, the thing is, things show up online, and so when you see a picture of a excuse me, if you see a picture of a cartridge that has a Breath of the Wild label on it, then you think, oh, well, clearly this is real. But it's probably not. And I doubt that all of these things that we're hearing from Eurogamer are going to wind up coming to pass. I don't know what their record has been in the past in terms of breaking news with regards to the upcoming consoles, but especially with Nintendo, we don't know what it's going to be until it gets announced.
Yeah.
You know, the Wii, when it was the Revolution, before it got announced, we had no idea what it was actually going to become. There were thoughts and ideas, but there was no way for us to even consider what a motion-controlled console was going to be like at that point. And they've been saying that the NX is being rebuilt from the ground up. It's a new operating system, possibly. There were rumors flying around for a while that it was going to run on an Android platform, but those have been debunked. And so right now, people really having any sort of emotion with regards to the NX based on an article in Eurogamer with a drawing that they made of what it might look like is dumb.
Did I? Because I was like looking. Is everybody else picking that up, just using that as the source?
Yeah, it's all coming from Eurogamer.
Wow,
and it's being reported everywhere.
And we're just treating it like it's real, actual stuff. Because like I'm seeing
a lot of places are saying rumor.
Yeah, it's definitely being filed as rumor, so that makes it okay. Yeah, that takes me back to my sports reporting days. Like, we're getting this right now in baseball coverage. It's that time of year where it's like everything. Like you could just put out pure crazy. Like it's just a rumor.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely the writers have decided to take a couple days off, get hammered, and just make shit up.
Right. It's the Donald J. Trump style of reporting.
Getting political.
I can't help it. The DNC is going on right now. We just suffered through the RNC.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah. Anyway, that's as political as I'm going to get.
Okay. So, Judge Frank.
Yes.
Is it dumb? I got to pick one on the Pokemon Go stuff, don't I?
Pokemon Go is dumb.
Is the way Pokemon Go is being covered, is that dumb, or is it dumb the way the NX rumors are being covered? Which misconstruing of fact or speculation is dumb?
Oh, well, the second for sure, because the Pokemon thing is actually interesting, although it may be farcical, right? So
Yeah.
The second has to be the dumber, because it might not even exist.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. Score point there. Done. Good. Reset the clock. Let's start it up. Let's go to the final leg. We are What is Dumb in Whatever. I think I might actually start calling it that.
Ooh, I like that.
What is Dumb in Whatever. Yeah, okay, we'll close on that. For me, I found out something horrible exists in the world. I was going to tell you guys why we shouldn't be getting mad about movies, why we shouldn't be getting mad about video games. Like, if we need something to get mad about, it is this. If you ever need to get mad, this is not political. This is the fact that competitive vaping exists.
That is political.
And Brandon, I do judge you for vaping, by the way, just so you know.
I don't technically vape.
You don't technically vape? What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything right now.
Well, you have a thing that
I have an e-cigarette, which I've used to quit smoking.
Okay. I mean, you definitely don't, like, blow clouds out and try to...
No, I don't mess with liquids. I don't...
Okay. You don't flavor it honey blueberry, something like that. That was a terrible... I don't like that reference I accidentally made. That was completely accidental. Did not like it. No, it's just like the idea that there are people getting together and making smoke rings. And the fact that somebody has gotten paid at some point to do this.
Yeah.
That just like is making... Like, Gandalf used to do this. Like, in the Shire. But he used actually smoke to do it. And he got pissed off when people asked him to do it. Like, that's the line. Like, do not think me a conjurer of cheap tricks. Like, that's how he feels about smoke art, I think. Like, I know that's not what he's saying in the movie. By the way, if you ever ask Gandalf to conjure cheap trick, totally down for that. He wants you to want him. He needs you to need him.
Ouch.
know if that was too far. That was too much.
No, it was beautiful.
Actually knowing a Chief Trick song and throwing that's where the joke gets a little too far, okay? Yeah, competitive vaping is dumb. I don't have to say anything more about that.
No, actually, there was a great segment on Full Frontal with Samantha Bee where she went to a vape convention.
Oh, man.
So I encourage everyone to look that up because it is the height of ridiculousness.
Like, we started talking about con crud. I think the moment you decide to go to a vape convention, that's when you get con crud. Yeah. Okay. So, Brandon, you tell me what's dumb and whatever.
So I'm going to talk about two things that are the same thing, but they're not. In 1988, DC Comics published Batman, The Killing Joke by Alan Moore and Brian Bolland, and it was immediately controversial. It was always intended to sort of take place outside of regular continuity in a way, but then it became part of regular continuity in a big way. Over the course of the story, we see glimpses into what the Joker was prior to being the Joker, although he's still never named. We see that he had a family, that he had a job, that he tried to be a stand-up comedian, and it did not work out.
Yeah. I 100% hate that part of the story, by the way.
Right. And then he tries to drive Commissioner Gordon mad, and in doing so goes to Commissioner Gordon's daughter's, Barbara's apartment, shoots her through the spine, takes off her clothes, possibly... I never read any sort of molestation into it when I read it. But there are folks who believe that there was some sort of additional assault. Anyway, took pictures, and then kidnaps Commissioner Gordon, tries to drive him mad, using these naked photos of his daughter, wounded and hurt, sending him through a weird funhouse ride. And the whole point of the story is that one bad day is the difference between someone like Gordon and someone like the Joker. It's a pretty powerful story. It has some issues throughout, and now they have made a movie of it, and it's a cartoon. It's rated R, and it premiered at San Diego Comic-Con. Now, I don't know that it needed to be done, personally. It seems like there are a lot of other stories that are better for an animated format. Whereas The Killing Joke is something that endures for so long now, for almost 30 years. And even Alan Moore looks back at it and says that it's not his best work, that it's not a great story. When Alan Moore went to Len Wein, who was the line editor at that point, and said what they wanted to do to Barbara Gordon, he's quoted as saying, and this comes from several sources, and this is a quote, not my own language, "cripple the bitch," is what he is reported to have said. Which is also somewhat problematic. Now, they get a lot of credit for this causing the character of Oracle to be created, which is not 100% true.
No.
They had no intention of doing anything with her. Barbara Gordon had retired as Batgirl. She was just a lady, I'm assuming librarian, like on the TV show. And so John Ostrander and Kim Yale, following the events of The Killing Joke, being sort of appalled by the events in The Killing Joke, decided to bring Oracle on into Suicide Squad, which is what they were working on at the time.
Yeah.
So they created Oracle. They made the best of a bad situation. Now, the film version expands on the bad situation and introduces a sexual relationship between Batman and Batgirl prior to the events of the story. Because it seems like they felt in creating it that Batman would not have an interest in her and in protecting her and helping her if that relationship were not sort of established already. And one thing that I've seen mentioned in regards to this, something called the sexy lamp test, and which we can pile it on to things like the Bechdel test, etc. This one in particular, basically the sexy lamp test says, can this character be replaced by a sexy lamp and cause no change to the story? And Barbara Gordon in The Killing Joke, nothing more than a plot point.
Yeah.
And has no agency, has no character of her own, despite having been Batgirl in the hearts and minds of readers for since I guess probably I want to say the 50s is when Batgirl was introduced. So now they turn it into a movie. Apparently it's not great, depending on who you ask.
It's problematic from many different ways. Like I have never been a fan of the story because the very first thing that always bothered me about it was how Joker is portrayed. I hate the fact that it has an origin story for the Joker. Like, he should be, in my opinion, the exact opposite of Batman. He's an agent of chaos. Batman is order. Batman has one of the most known origins in the world, and I always felt that Joker's origin should be completely random, unknown, like chaos. Then when I started looking more into the Barbara Gordon part of it, like, this came up recently when they were doing the Joker-themed covers for comics. They did a Killing Joke cover at one point it wasn't the original cover, it was like a guest artist did it for Batgirl, and the Batgirl writers kind of had to point out, like, we don't want that. Like, you have to realize, like, you could say that it's a great Joker story, but it's an awful Batgirl story. It's the Batgirl story where editorial showed that they don't care about Batgirl. They wanted her gone. They were like, we don't care about this character. We're done with it. Throw her out. She's scrap. Make her a plot point. And so now we have, of the 4 main characters, 2 of them are completely horribly done in the source material. Why did we need this as a movie? We didn't. But it's weirdly fetishized by some fans.
Oh, yeah.
And they pushed hard for it, and it became like this. People have got to get off Alan Moore at this point. Like, maybe we need to admit that he's not as great of a comic book writer as we pretend he is, that everything he did is not perfect, and that, I think, a lot of it is there. We're treating Alan Moore comics like holy texts.
Right.
And that's part of the problem.
Well, and that's part of the weirdness too of this new rebirth stuff with the DC universe, is that now basically an Alan Moore character is responsible for reshaping the DC universe, and I agree, it's time to move on. There have been a lot of great writers that have come after Alan Moore. Alan Moore has had his contributions. Watchmen did some really interesting things to the industry, and it also did some really bad things to the industry, because all of a sudden everything had to be deconstructed, and everyone had, there had to be
everything had to be realism. Everything had to
and
be...
the stakes had to change, and but without Alan Moore, we wouldn't have Neil Gaiman, and because he was he acted as sort of a mentor for Neil Gaiman, and that's big. Alan Moore's work on Swamp Thing, which very few people even talk about now, was pretty groundbreaking and very interesting. But especially for a story that he himself disavows, it doesn't make sense that it's gone this far. And it had a 2-night engagement at the theaters during Comic-Con, and it made about $4 million, which is a lot for one theater showing it for 2 nights.
No, it was nationwide.
Was it Oh,
that was nationwide. Okay. That's physically impossible. There's not that much of a desire. Yeah, there was, but it was it was only like 1 or 2 nights special events. Like Harkins Theaters nationwide, I know, picked it up. I know a bunch of other places had it as well. But
I didn't see anything around here, but we don't.
It had a substantial theater release for a couple nights.
Okay.
Yeah, and everyone rolled out, got excited for it. So no, it's not quite that disturbing, but disturbing.
But it's still, I mean, that's still a decent amount of money, especially considering the animation quality is at the same level as some of the other animated releases that they've put out lately, which is not, it's not my cup of tea, I would say, for the most part. Like, I would rather watch the Batman and the Animated Series style. Which, now, going back to that, Bruce Timm, who created the visuals for Batman the Animated Series, was the director of The Killing Joke.
We're way over the 5-minute limit on this one.
Sorry.
So
I get fired up.
Okay, let's turn to Judge Frank on this one. is Batman the Killing Joke dumb, or is competitive vaping dumb? I'm not even giving a summary on this one. I think they are by title dumb. Like, you know what you're into here.
Yeah, well, competitive vaping, I guess you can be competitive about everything, but competitive vaping seems right up there with the dumbest things ever.
I think that is... I feel that was like a holy grail of dumbness when I stumbled on that. Just seeing those two words together alone is like, let's have rage. That's what that was for me.
Yeah, at least the Batman are being, they're being creative.
I'm normally very okay with people doing their own thing, like if that's what you enjoy doing. I don't mind juggalos, for crying out loud, but they're doing a Million Juggalo March. That was almost going to be one of my dumbnesses.
Are they really?
A Million Juggalo March. There's a part of me that was like, there's no way. And then there's like, there's actually a way that there is a million Juggalos marching on DC. I mean, they gather on a regular basis.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay, so let's do some follow-up dumbness. Brandon, you've got a couple notes here that you wanted to do.
I do. So we talked in the past about the large amount of time travel shows that are coming to TV in the fall. I think there were 3 primarily.
Mm-hmm.
They showed some lengthy clips and had some presentations at San Diego, and apparently no one cared.
They had a bus. One of them had a bus.
Okay.
It was like, hey, there's a bus for that thing that Brandon talked about. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's about the reaction they had. Like, nice bus.
Right. And overall, the reaction was, okay, these exist.
Yep.
See you in the fall, I guess.
Then something more positive happened this week.
Yes, Stranger Things has officially been renewed for a 2nd season with Netflix. And it's interesting, the showrunner, the creators, the Duffer Brothers, were talking about how they basically want to use that same core group but expand on the mythology that they've created with the first level, and they compared it to the growth and progression of the Harry Potter stories.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty interesting and darn ambitious.
So you're excited.
I'm very excited.
And you know what today is. You know what's coming. You know what's happening. You can see it on the show notes. That's why you're frowning at me right now.
Yeah. You don't have your countdown clock up.
2 weeks, guys. In 2 weeks, No Man's Sky comes out. Why is this on the follow-up dumbness? Because I finally looked at the calendar and realized in 2 weeks... Well, we'll talk about it in Shameless Plugs, which is right now, ladies and gentlemen, Shameless Plugs. This coming Tuesday, August 9th, I will be at Tommy T's Comedy Steakhouse in Pleasanton, which is very far away from my house. I may have a show also August 10th, which is the day that No Man's Sky comes out, which means a day that I've been waiting about a year for at this point. I can't do anything about, because I'm going to be away from my PS4. That just sunk in, like, today when I started looking at the calendar and realized I'm double booked. I'm double booked with a comedy show and a video game. So that's my life right now. It's going incredibly successful to the point that I'm angry about it. Brandon, do you have anything that you would like to shamelessly plug?
Yes, I will be. I'm actually, in about a month, I am launching the first annual competitive juggaloing convention.
You son of a bitch.
So it's going to be at. We haven't decided on the convention center yet. For some reason, they keep saying no everywhere we ask. But we've got big financial backing from Fago, and so we're going to figure out how to competitively juggalo.
Don't use magnets. They still are confused by magnets.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. Mr. Frank Cronin, what would you like to shamelessly plug?
Well, I just won a vaping competition I'm very proud of, so that's my first.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I'm writing a thesis on...
I hate you guys. I hate you guys so hard.
No, that's it. I got a play coming up in August in the Stella Adler Theatre. It's called The Jacksonian. It's going to be a pretty good play. A few comedy shows between then and now. You can check it all out on Facebook. Francis Cronin is my new Facebook name. I'm hiding in plain sight there. So
Francis Cronin on Facebook, Frank Cronin on IMDb, right?
No, it's all Francis now. I finally lined them all up.
It's all Francis. You had me call. I swore that you said call me Frank because of that stuff.
That's because you're my friend. But
Okay.
online, if anyone's looking for me, and I don't want them to be too friendly, then I call myself Francis.
So if you're on like the Tonight Show, you're going to be called Francis.
Yeah, no, I'll be probably Frank. Frank to my friends, Francis for business.
Absolutely. All right. That brings us to a close on this episode. Next week, our special guest is called Jury Duty, which means we might not have a show next week. Fun times for me there, doing my civic duty. So I said duty. Ladies and gentlemen, for our guest judge, Frank Cronin, and for Brandon J. Carr, I've been Darren J. Gendron, and we have been really, really dumb.